What if everything that's holding you back isn't the world, but how much you care about the wrong things? What if your anxiety isn't because you're weak, but because you're too tightly bound to things that don't matter? And what if letting go, truly letting go, is the key to unlocking strength, peace, and clarity? Most people are caught in an invisible prison, a constant loop of worry, fear, and emotional exhaustion. They care deeply, too deeply, about how they're seen, about every word they say, about every small mistake. They overthink decisions, chase the approval of people who barely matter, and pour their energy into trying to control what can't be controlled. The result? A racing mind that never rests, a heart weighed down by stress, and a life quietly governed by fear. But here's the powerful truth. The less you care about what doesn't matter, the more powerful you become. When you stop obsessing over others' opinions, people surprisingly start to respect you more. When you're no longer paralyzed by the fear of failing, you begin to take bold, fearless action. When you stop analyzing every step, your mind clears, and suddenly the path ahead becomes visible. This isn't apathy. It's not about being cold or careless. It's about choosing where your energy goes. It's about holding on to what you can influence and freeing yourself from what you can't. Stoic philosophy captures this idea perfectly. Real strength doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering your mind. In this video, you'll learn why caring less is not weakness, it's wisdom. You'll see how letting go isn't about giving up, but about gaining clarity, confidence, and the mental space to thrive. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or just plain stuck, stay with me, because when you stop giving energy to what drains you, you finally have room to grow everything that truly matters. Let's begin with the first key: confidence unlocked. Why not caring makes you stronger? Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing you don't need to. Let's continue with what we just uncovered. True confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from freedom. The freedom to be misunderstood, to be doubted, even to look foolish and still choose. To move forward anyway. When you stop seeking permission to be yourself, something powerful happens. You begin to pursue what excites you without guilt, without hesitation. You stop living for applause and start living for a purpose. People don't respect those who beg for approval. They respect those who stand tall in their truth. Epictetus, one of the greatest minds in Stoic philosophy, once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." And that's the real secret. The day you stop fearing how you look is the day you set yourself free. Confidence isn't earned by convincing the world that you're flawless. It's earned when you embrace your flaws without shame. Picture this. You walk into a room full of strangers. Most people immediately scan the space. Do I look okay? Am I saying the right thing? What if they think I'm boring? But the one who truly stands out is the one who's grounded, calm, and completely at ease with themselves. That kind of unshakable presence, it draws people in. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're not trying at all. When you stop apologizing for who you are, you silently give everyone around you permission to do the same. And that, more than anything, is magnetic. Of course, this doesn't mean you ignore feedback or push away helpful advice. It simply means you begin to filter. You learn to separate the noise from the message. You ask yourself tough questions. Am I quiet because I disagree, or because I'm afraid? If the answer is fear, then that's your cue. That's when it's time to speak up. Confidence grows each time you choose self-trust over self-doubt. And like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So instead of wasting energy trying to micromanage how others perceive you, focus on alignment. Live in integrity with your values. Let respect follow you, not the other way around. That's the power of detachment. When your worth no longer depends on others' approval, something incredible shifts. You begin to carry yourself with quiet certainty. You no longer chase attention. You attract it. Imagine being in a meeting where someone tries to undermine your idea, not because they're right, but because they want to challenge your confidence. Most people would instantly leap to defend themselves, over-explaining every detail. But the strongest person in the room, they stay calm. They let silence do the talking, because silence, when used with intention, is a force all its own. Seneca, another master of Stoicism, put it beautifully. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. In other words, every time you choose not to react impulsively, you reclaim power. Detachment, when rooted in clarity, not indifference, is one of the greatest strengths you can possess. And now, let's explore how this mindset of clarity, confidence, and detachment sets the stage for even deeper transformation. In the last section, we uncovered how detachment and silence aren't weaknesses. They're quiet declarations of inner strength. Now let's dig even deeper into the root of that strength: self-trust. Here's a simple truth most people overlook. Confidence doesn't come from convincing others, it comes from trusting yourself. Think about the next time you feel that hesitation, that tight moment right before you speak your mind. Pause and ask yourself, am I holding back because I doubt what I have to say? Or am I afraid of how others might respond? If your fear is rooted in others' reactions, that's your cue to release it. Because the moment you act despite that fear, despite the discomfort, something powerful happens. You take one step closer to unshakable confidence. Every time you stop seeking approval, every time you choose action over hesitation, you reaffirm your own worth. You build a habit, and that habit forms the solid foundation of self-trust. Stop trying to win everyone over. You don't need to convince the world. You only need to convince yourself. Because when you stand in your truth without apology, people notice. You become impossible to ignore. Now let's talk about what happens when you stop chasing respect and start commanding it. Be the one everyone respects by caring less. Respect is never handed to the loudest voice in the room. It's earned quietly through how you carry yourself. Those who beg for respect rarely receive it. Why? Because desperation pushes people away. Real respect isn't demanded, it's drawn in by quiet strength and unwavering presence. The more you cling to validation, the more fragile you seem. But the moment you release the need for approval, you unlock something magnetic, a presence that speaks for itself without you needing to say a word. Think about the people you admire most. Are they constantly explaining themselves? Do they rush to justify every move or mold themselves to fit in? No. The people who earn our respect are the ones who move with calm confidence. They know who they are. They don't compromise their values to win favor. They lead with quiet assurance, and that makes them unforgettable. When you stop caring about things that don't matter, you make space for what truly does. You stop chasing praise and start focusing on what you're actually building. You don't have to prove your worth when your actions already speak louder than words. That's what separates the respected from the forgotten. Now picture this. You're in a heated discussion. Someone challenges your point, not out of curiosity, but to provoke you. Most people would jump to defend themselves, scrambling to prove they're right. But the person who truly commands respect, they don't panic, they pause, they listen, and when they respond, it's with calm, deliberate certainty. That kind of presence is rare, and in the next section, we'll explore exactly how to cultivate it in every room you walk into. In the last part, we saw how calm, deliberate responses command more respect than any emotional outburst ever could. Now let's take that calmness a step further and explore the true source of unshakable strength. No panic, no desperation, just quiet. Control, that kind of presence, it speaks volumes, louder than any heated argument ever could. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the key. Real strength doesn't come from trying to control others. It comes from mastering yourself. The more you stay composed under pressure, the more powerful your presence becomes. The more grounded you are, the more naturally respect follows you. Because people don't just notice what you say, they feel how you carry yourself. But here's something even deeper, something most people completely miss. True respect isn't earned through volume, it's earned through values. When you know what matters to you and you refuse to compromise, it shows. Even those who disagree with you will feel it. They may not like your stance, but they will respect your strength. Most people make the mistake of thinking they have to win every argument to gain respect. But the truth? Respect doesn't go to the loudest voice. It goes to the one who stands their ground without needing to shout. People admire those who don't flinch when criticized, who stay calm when challenged, who remain true to themselves when others bend and break. And this is where detachment becomes your greatest advantage. When you stop reacting to every passing opinion, you become immune to manipulation. Others lose control over you the second you stop needing their approval. And that kind of emotional independence, it makes you untouchable. Picture this. You're in a tense situation. A coworker publicly tries to undermine you. Most people would feel the urge to defend themselves instantly, to set the record straight, to strike back. But what if you didn't? What if you simply stayed calm, stood your ground, and let your silence speak? That silence, it's not weakness, it's power. It unsettles people. It makes them question their own behavior. And most importantly, it shows you are not easily shaken. People respect those who refuse to be dragged into petty conflict. Epictetus, the legendary Stoic teacher, said it perfectly. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, every time you react with emotion, you're handing over your power. But when you remain detached, when you don't take the bait, you take back control. You rise above the game. And let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about everything. It means you stop caring about the things that don't deserve your energy. In the next section, we'll explore exactly how to build that kind of emotional clarity and how it transforms not just your mindset, but your entire life. In the previous section, we saw how detachment gives you freedom, the power to walk away from what drains you and stand firm in what strengthens you. Now, let's explore how that power shows up in everyday choices. When you stop caring about things that weaken you, something incredible happens. You stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided not to listen. You stop arguing with those who only want to provoke a reaction. And most importantly, you stop wasting energy on trying to win over people who have no intention of respecting you. Instead, your focus sharpens. You begin to direct your energy inward toward what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your responses. That's where real power lives. Each time you choose calm over conflict, you add another layer to your strength. Every time you resist the urge to overreact, you train your mind to remain steady, no matter the storm. And the longer you practice this, the more unshakable your presence becomes. Here's a truth most people never learn. The moment you stop trying to be respected is the moment you begin to command it. When you no longer need approval to feel worthy, confidence begins to radiate from you. When you stop chasing respect, you'll find it starts to follow you effortlessly. So the next time someone questions your path or challenges your values, don't jump into defense mode. Resist the urge to explain every detail. Stay calm. Let your actions speak louder than your words. And when you do speak, make it count. Speak with clarity, with purpose. No over-explaining, no apologizing for your values. Just steady, deliberate, words rooted in self-trust. That's what gets people's attention. That's what earns true respect, because the strongest person in any room isn't the one shouting. It's the one who knows exactly when to stay silent. Now let's move to something even more powerful, something most successful people use but rarely talk about: letting go, the secret weapon of high performers. Success isn't about controlling everything. It's about mastering what you can and releasing what you can't. The sooner you understand this, the stronger and freer you become. But most people, they do the opposite. They waste their energy trying to force outcomes, obsess over what others might think, dwell on what could go wrong, and scramble to avoid failure at all costs. Here's the truth. Control is an illusion. No matter how carefully you plan, life will always throw you surprises. And the harder you try to control everything, the more friction you create. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about redirecting your focus to what's actually within your power. It's the art of knowing when to take action and when to step back. And the moment you embrace that mindset, life stops feeling like a fight and starts flowing more naturally. I remember a man named Daniel. He was smart, driven, a true perfectionist, an entrepreneur who built his entire career around one belief: control everything. He micromanaged it all, his team, his meetings, even how his coffee was made. He believed that if he could tighten his grip on every detail, he could control the outcome. But what happens when the world doesn't bend to your grip? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next part. In the last section, we saw Daniel tighten his grip in an attempt to control everything, only to discover that the tighter the grip, the faster things slipped away. Now, let's see what happened when he finally loosened it. Daniel had convinced himself that if he just tried hard enough, if he micromanaged every detail, he could force success to happen. But slowly, that pursuit of control turned into a heavy chain. He became burned out, constantly anxious, frustrated when things didn't unfold the way he envisioned. Then the collapse came. His biggest client abruptly walked away. His team, stifled under his micromanagement, began to check out. Emotionally, and his personal life, a complete mess, strained and chaotic. That moment when everything unraveled was when Daniel finally faced the uncomfortable truth. No matter how hard you try, you can't control everything. So he made a different choice. He let go. He stopped, hovering over every task, and gave his team the trust and space they needed to step up. He stopped obsessing over outcomes and started focusing on what he could influence in the moment. And what followed was nothing short of remarkable. His business began to thrive again. His team became more confident and productive. And the very opportunities he once tried to force started flowing in, naturally, effortlessly, not because he pushed harder, but because he stopped pushing. That's the quiet power of letting go. When you release your grip on what you can't control, you make room for something better to emerge. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus once said, "Some things are up to us and some are not." The more you focus on what is within your control, the more peace you'll find. This insight changes everything. When you fixate on things outside your reach, like people's opinions, unpredictable setbacks, or misfortunes, you drain yourself. But when you return your focus to your own effort, your mindset, and your next move, you take your power back. Imagine facing a painful setback, a failed project, a broken relationship, or a lost opportunity. What do most people do? They panic. They replay the failure again and again in their heads. They obsess over what ifs, sink into anxiety, and stay stuck in the past, a place they have no control over. But that cycle only deepens the suffering, because the past can't be changed. The smarter move: redirect your energy. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? That's where your strength lives. I once knew someone who lived this lesson deeply, my friend Marcus. He spent months preparing for a promotion he truly believed he'd earned. He stayed late at work, hit every target, and built strong bonds with his team. But when the final decision came, they gave the role to someone else, someone with less experience, but better internal connections. Marcus was furious. He wanted Marcus, couldn't change the decision. He couldn't undo the promotion that went to someone else. But what he could control was his response. And that choice made all the difference. Instead of letting bitterness take over, he stayed professional. He continued showing up, delivering great work, and refused to let the situation turn him cold or resentful. 6 months later, that very manager who had overlooked him left the company. And guess who was offered the role? Marcus. Not because he fought harder, not because he demanded it, but because his calm, steady composure spoke louder than any emotional outburst ever could. That is the quiet power of detachment. When you stop resisting what you can't control, you redirect your energy to where it actually matters: your effort, your focus, your mindset. Seneca once wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere. he was right. The more you scatter your energy, trying to micromanage every outcome, chase every possibility, or control how others feel, the less power you actually have to influence what's truly important. But the moment you simplify, the moment you begin letting go of what's beyond you, that's when you start gaining mastery over yourself. So, how do you begin? Start small. The next time you feel overwhelmed or frustrated, ask yourself one simple question. What part of this is truly in my control? Identify that piece, focus on it, and release the rest. When you live from this mindset, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on battles you were never meant to fight. You stop replaying the past or fearing the future, and you begin to trust the process, knowing that by managing yourself, you've already done enough. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't reward panic. It doesn't reward overthinking or obsessive control. It rewards clarity. It rewards presence. It rewards those who take calm, focused action and leave the rest to unfold naturally. When you let go of what you can't control, you also let go of anxiety, frustration, and mental clutter. And in that moment, life stops feeling like a constant battle and starts moving with you. That's when things begin to fall into place. Now, let's take it one step further. What if freeing your mind is the next move that unlocks every opportunity waiting for you? In the next part, we'll explore how overthinking sabotages your potential and how mental clarity can open doors you didn't even know were there. In the last part, we uncovered how clarity begins where overthinking ends. Letting go of what clutters your mind isn't just a relief, it's a strategic advantage. Now let's dive into how this shift in mental focus changes everything. Highly effective people aren't free from stress, but they are free from the trap of overthinking. They don't obsess over every possible scenario. Why? Because they understand that mental clutter kills momentum. When your mind is overloaded, even the simplest decisions can feel paralyzing. You find yourself replaying conversations from days ago, wondering what you could have said differently. You predict what might go wrong next, and spiral into a maze of imaginary problems. But here's the truth. Most of the things you worry about will never happen, and the few that do, they almost never unfold the way you imagined. Marcus Aurelius captured this insight perfectly. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. That means when you take charge of your thinking, when you stop letting unnecessary worries hijack your attention, you regain clarity, focus, and strength. Because true strength isn't about controlling the world. It's about mastering your attention. The more you free your mind from pointless fears, the more clearly you see what actually matters. Imagine your mind like a messy room. Stacks of paper everywhere, drawers overflowing. When everything's scattered, it's hard to think. You're overwhelmed, unfocused, stuck. But the moment you begin to clear that space, you can breathe, you can move, you can find exactly what you need. The same is true for your thoughts. When you stop analyzing every angle, when you release the need for perfect certainty, your mind opens up. Ideas flow more easily. Solutions rise to the surface. Decisions become simpler and faster. But here's the challenge. Most people are addicted to overthinking. They believe that if they just analyze a little longer, they'll avoid failure. They think hesitation is wisdom. when it's actually fear in disguise. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. It turns opportunity into doubt, and doubt into inaction. Picture this. You're offered a chance to change your life, a new job, a relationship, a bold move you've always wanted to try. And just before you leap, you freeze. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? What if this isn't the right time? And while you're busy questioning everything, someone else, someone who trusts themselves, steps forward. They take the chance. They get the experience. They grow. That's the real cost of overthinking. It doesn't just slow you down. It convinces you that waiting is safer than acting. Epictetus warned against this mental trap when he said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our view of those things." In other words, your mind creates most of the stress you experience. It amplifies doubt. It exaggerates risk, and it keeps you locked in a cycle of fear and hesitation over problems that don't even exist yet. So, how do you break free from that trap? In the next part, we'll uncover the mindset shift that stops overthinking in its tracks and helps you move forward with clarity and courage. In the last section, we saw how overthinking poisons action and how freeing your mind creates the mental space needed for clarity, courage, and growth. Now let's talk about how to train your mind to stay sharp and focused, even in chaos. When you learn to let go of useless, repetitive thoughts, something powerful happens. You create space for clarity, space for purpose, space for decisive action. Your energy stops leaking into fear and doubt and begins flowing into momentum. The solution isn't complicated. It's about learning to filter your thoughts. Every time your mind starts spinning with anxiety or second-guessing, stop and ask yourself, is this thought helpful? If the hot answer is no, let it go. Worried about what others think? Let it go. Replaying that mistake from last week? Let it go. Overanalyzing a decision you already made? Let it go. These thoughts serve no purpose. They don't help you prepare. They don't protect you from failure. They just steal your energy and stall your progress. Instead, shift your focus to what's actionable. What can you do right now, in this very moment, that will move you forward? Redirect your mental energy from endless analysis to intentional action, because the strongest, clearest minds aren't the ones that have all the answers. They're the ones that trust themselves enough to move, even without certainty. And this is where Stoic wisdom becomes your greatest ally. The Stoics never preached fearlessness. They didn't believe you needed to erase doubt or eliminate fear. They believed in courage. And courage means acting in spite of fear. They understood a profound truth. Bravery isn't the absence of doubt. It's the willingness to move anyway. So next time you feel yourself spiraling, pausing, overthinking, holding back, stop. Remind yourself no amount of analysis will ever guarantee the future. The only thing you can control is your next step, so take it. Not because you're sure of the outcome, but because hesitation will destroy your confidence faster than any failure ever could. When you stop drowning in thought, your instincts finally get a voice. You start noticing opportunities that others miss. You move quicker, you grow faster, and you experience life with more clarity, more purpose, because your mind is no longer clogged with noise. Your mind is powerful, but only when it's free from what doesn't matter So stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable. Focus on what's in front of you. Think less. Act more. And watch how your life starts to shift, subtly, then dramatically. In the next part, we'll tackle one of the biggest myths that holds people back, the lie of perfection, and why learning to accept yourself as you are is the real path to strength. In the last section, we broke free from the trap of overthinking. Now it's time to challenge another illusion, perfection, the invisible wall that stops more dreams than failure ever could. The people who achieve great things aren't the ones who avoid mistakes. They're the ones who walk straight into them and keep going. Every person who's built something meaningful has stumbled, doubted themselves, and gotten it wrong more than once. But instead of obsessing over their missteps, they moved forward, flawed, uncertain, but unstoppable. Marcus Aurelius said, "At best, don't waste time arguing what a good man should be, just be one." He wasn't talking about being flawless. He was talking about progress, about showing up, about choosing growth, even when you don't feel ready. And that's the trap so many people fall into. They wait. They say, "I'll start when I'm ready. I'll speak up when I know the perfect words. I'll take action when I feel 100% confident." But that day, it never comes, because confidence doesn't come from waiting until everything's perfect. It's built through action, even messy, awkward, imperfect action. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is, and progress only happens when you make peace with this uncomfortable truth. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You will fall short. But those moments, they are not your enemies. They're the path. They're how you learn, grow, and build the strength to keep moving forward. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. To them, a mistake was never final unless you refused to learn from it. Failure wasn't a reason to stop. It was a reason to start again, wiser, stronger, more grounded than before. The moment you release the need to be perfect, everything shifts. You begin to see mistakes for what they really are. Not proof that you're broken, but proof that you're trying. Each misstep becomes a lesson. Each setback reveals a weakness to strengthen. And each failure, handled with honesty and reflection, builds unshakable resilience. The key is how you respond. So when things go wrong, because they will, don't spiral. Don't punish yourself. Instead, ask one powerful question. What can I learn from this? That simple question rewires your brain. It shifts you from regret to reflection, from frustration to focus. Because the real danger isn't failure. It's letting failure define you. People chasing perfection see every mistake as proof they're not good enough. But people chasing growth, they see failure for what it is, feedback, not the end, just a redirection towards something better. Seneca warned us about this trap of self-punishment. He said, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom doesn't come from getting it all right the first time. It comes from falling, reflecting, adjusting, and rising stronger each time. So what happens when you stop beating yourself up and start embracing the lessons in your failures? In the next part, we'll explore the surprising strength found in self-compassion and how it builds resilience that perfection never could. In the last part, we explored how progress, not perfection, is the true measure of growth. Now, let's go even deeper. Real power comes not from hiding your flaws, but from embracing them. The faster you allow yourself to fail, the faster you grow. But here's something most people miss. The more you accept your imperfections, the more powerful you become. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. When you stop pretending to have all the answers, when you show up exactly as you are, flaws and all, you become relatable. You build trust. And, most importantly, you set yourself free. That's why truly confident people never seem desperate. They're not chasing impossible standards or trying to impress everyone in the room. They're comfortable being human. They know they'll make mistakes. They expect setbacks. And they've learned to face them with calm, quiet self-acceptance. And that kind of energy, it draws people in because it's real, it's grounded, it's magnetic. So the next time doubt starts creeping in, the next time your mind says you're not ready, not good enough, not smart enough, pause. And remember, perfection isn't the goal. Improvement is. Start now, even if you're not fully ready. Speak up even if your voice shakes. Take action, even if it feels awkward or messy. Because real confidence isn't about being flawless, it's about trusting yourself to figure it out along the way. Mistakes won't break you, but waiting for everything to be perfect, that will. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to begin. So, release the illusion that everything has to be in place before you move forward. Just focus on making progress, even if it's one small, clumsy step at a time, because each imperfect move brings you closer to the person you were meant to become. Progress beats perfection every single time. Now let's shift gears slightly, because if perfection is one form of paralysis, overthinking is its silent twin. It sneaks in quietly, and before you know it, it's stolen your clarity, your confidence, and your momentum. In the next part, we'll dive into how to break free from overthinking and make bold, decisive moves even when you're unsure. Into the previous part, we explored how overthinking robs you of clarity, action, and progress. Now, let's look at the antidote, mental stillness, and how learning to quiet your mind can unlock decisive, bold movement. The Stoics taught that mental stillness, the ability to quiet the noise, let go of distractions, and focus only on what matters, was the foundation for clear thinking and decisive action. I once knew a man named Andrew. He was a brilliant designer, full of creativity and potential. His ideas? Incredible. His talent? Undeniable. But Andrew was stuck, trapped not by his ability, but by his thoughts. Every time a new opportunity showed up, he froze. He'd overanalyze every angle, predict every possible way it could go wrong, and convince himself he wasn't ready. He wanted everything to be perfect, his portfolio, his pitch, the timing. So he waited and waited. Weeks became months. Months turned into years. And eventually, the opportunities faded. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because while Andrew was still thinking, others were already acting. One day, after missing yet another chance, Andrew had a painful realization. He wasn't failing because he lacked skill. He was failing because he refused to start. So he made a new rule for himself: no more analysis paralysis. From now on, make a decision within 10 seconds, no matter how uncomfortable it felt. The first time he tried it, his mind rebelled. His thoughts raced, doubt, fear, second-guessing. But instead of falling back into old habits, he acted, and everything began to change. He landed new clients. His confidence started to build, and the more he moved, the less he overthought. He stopped, waiting to feel ready, because he realized clarity doesn't come from endless thinking. It comes from action. When you act, you get feedback. When you move, even imperfectly, you begin to see the way forward. And even if you stumble at first, you learn faster than anyone sitting still. Overthinkers believe hesitation protects them. But in truth, hesitation multiplies fear. What starts as a small decision quickly turns into a mental maze. Each thought creating more confusion until you've convinced yourself to do nothing at all. And that's how people stay stuck. Stuck in fear, stuck in hesitation, stuck in their heads. So what's the smarter move? Stop feeding your doubts. The next time your mind starts to spiral, break the loop with action. Ask yourself one clear question. What's the next small step I can take right now? Don't complicate it. Don't chase the perfect solution. Just take one step, no matter how small. Epictetus warned us about this very trap. He said, if you want to be better, be willing to look like a fool. And that's the part most people avoid. They fear looking foolish. So they wait. They wait for certainty. They wait for perfection. But what if looking foolish for a moment is the price of breaking free for life? In the next part, we'll explore how to reclaim control, not by overthinking, but by acting with courage, clarity, and conviction. Previously, we explored how overthinking keeps you stuck and how taking small, imperfect steps forward is the only true way to move out of fear. Now let's bring that lesson to life with a powerful, real-world example. So many people wait for the right moment. They wait for confidence to magically arrive. They wait for the perfect plan to fall into place. But in reality, they're not preparing for life. They're postponing it. And in the end, they're just waiting for a life they may never get to live. I remember a woman named Rachel. She had dreamed of starting her own business for years. The ideas were there. The passion was real. But every time she got close to taking that first step, fear pulled her back. Her mind would flood with questions. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm just not ready? And so she waited for months, then years, until one day it hit her. Her hesitation wasn't keeping her safe. It was keeping her stuck. So Rachel made a choice. She stopped waiting for confidence and started moving without it. Her first attempt? It wasn't perfect. She stumbled, made mistakes, doubted herself constantly. But each misstep taught her something valuable. Each uncomfortable moment brought clarity, and little by little, she got stronger. That's the quiet power of action. The more you move forward, the more your doubts begin to fade, not because they vanish overnight, but because they lose their grip when you stop feeding them. Confidence isn't something you think your way into. It's something you build by walking straight through discomfort. The real key? Learning to trust yourself, even when you don't feel ready. So stop asking endless questions. Stop trying to predict every outcome. And stop waiting for the perfect moment, because it will never come. Instead, live by this mindset. When in doubt, act. Even if you're unsure, even if you're afraid, even if the full path isn't clear yet. Because action crushes anxiety faster than overthinking ever could. The truth is, most of your decisions aren't as risky as your mind makes them seem. Most failures aren't permanent. Most mistakes won't break you, but waiting will. every time you delay, you miss a chance to grow, to learn, to evolve. So stop overthinking. Stop letting fear dictate your pace. Trust yourself enough to take the next step, any step. And when you do, watch how quickly your life begins to shift. Next, we'll explore something that keeps so many people stuck, even when they're taking action: the illusion of control, and why trying to grip too tightly is the very thing that kills your happiness. In the previous part, we saw how overthinking and waiting can rob us of momentum. But there's another trap that quietly steals peace: the illusion of control. Let's dive into how letting go is not weakness, but one of the most powerful moves you can make. The truth is simple, but hard to accept. You can't control everything. You can't control sudden setbacks. You can't control how people behave. You can't control how every situation unfolds. And the more you try to force life to bend to your will, the more stress, frustration, and anxiety you create. That's why Stoic philosophy revolves around one core principle: power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering your response to it. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that real peace begins the moment you stop clinging to what's out of your hands. He believed that the more you resist reality, the more you suffer. Instead of fighting what can't be changed, Zeno encouraged acceptance, not as a form of giving up, but as an act of strength and wisdom. Picture this: you're stuck in traffic. You can scream, you can curse, you can pound the steering wheel, but none of that will make the cars move any faster. The traffic isn't in your control, but your reaction? That is, you can either waste energy battling the inevitable, or you can accept it, breathe, and use that moment to refocus. This mindset applies far beyond the freeway. When relationships fall apart, when your plans collapse, when life throws something completely unexpected at you, you always face a choice. You can waste your strength trying to force things back into place, or you can shift your energy to what's still within your control. There's a quiet kind of freedom that comes with knowing where your power ends. When you stop demanding that life unfold exactly the way you imagined, you unlock something rare: peace. But don't misunderstand. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what matters. It means focusing only on what you can influence: your attitude, your effort, your response. It's the courage to act where you have control, and the wisdom to release what you don't. Seneca once wrote, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." He understood something timeless. Most anxiety doesn't come from the present moment. It comes from our desperate, exhausting attempt to control things we can't predict. You can't control the future, and the harder you try, the more fear you generate. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's a shift, a redirection of your energy to where it belongs. And when you stop micromanaging every detail of life, you gain something valuable: mental space, room for clarity, for calm, for focus. Instead of reacting with panic, you begin responding with purpose. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask yourself one powerful question: am I trying to control something I simply can't? If the answer is yes, what happens next is where true wisdom begins. In the next part, we'll uncover how letting go creates the space for transformation, and why surrendering control is often the first step to real power. In the last part, we asked a simple but powerful question. Are you trying to control something you can't? If the answer was yes, the next step becomes clear. It's time to release it and shift your focus. Let it go. Then ask yourself, what can I influence right now? Focus on that. And let everything else fade into the background. Now, this shift might sound simple, but it's not easy. Why? Because the mind craves certainty. It wants to believe that if you just try harder, plan smarter, or worry longer, you can bend life to your will. But that belief doesn't bring peace. It breeds tension, frustration, exhaustion. True strength comes from learning when to step back. When you stop chasing control, you gain something far more powerful: the ability to stay calm no matter what life throws your way. You develop clarity when others spiral. You learn to adapt when plans fall apart. And instead of wasting your energy fighting what is, you redirect it toward what matters: your actions, your mindset, your choices. This mindset doesn't just reduce stress, it expands your potential, because when you stop trying to force outcomes, better ones often unfold on their own. When you stop clinging to how life should be, you create space for what it could become. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's the truth most people miss. Real freedom isn't found in controlling everything. It's found in letting go. When you stop resisting the uncontrollable, you reclaim your power. When you stop chasing control, you gain control over yourself. And once you master yourself, your reactions, your focus, your behavior, you no longer need to dominate the world around you. You move through life calm, centered, and untouchable. So stop wasting energy on what's beyond your reach. Focus on what's right in front of you. Control your thoughts. Control your responses. Control how you show up, especially when things don't go as planned, and then let the rest unfold, because the moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment you finally begin to feel free. And now, let's talk about what comes next, something most people fear, but few truly understand: uncertainty. In the next part, we'll explore why embracing the unknown might be the most powerful move you ever make. In the last part, we uncovered a powerful truth. Real freedom begins the moment you let go of what you can't control. But there's another piece to this puzzle, and it's one that makes most people uncomfortable: uncertainty. Your mind resists it. It craves predictability. It wants a plan, a safety net, something to guarantee success before taking action. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how carefully you prepare, no matter how far ahead you think, the path will always twist. There will always be surprises. And the harder you try to resist that truth, the more stuck you become. The Stoics didn't fear uncertainty. They embraced it. They understood that success doesn't come from avoiding the unknown. It comes from having the courage to walk into it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You shouldn't give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care at all." He understood something deeply powerful. Most of life is indifferent. Circumstances don't respond to your emotions. They don't change based on your fear or frustration. The future, it won't unfold the way you expect, and that's exactly why you must become flexible enough to adapt, to move forward anyway. Think about it. The biggest opportunities in life rarely arrive when planned. A conversation that changes your career. A random encounter that sparks a lifelong connection. A painful setback that leads you to a better path than you imagined. These moments don't come from certainty. They emerge when you step into the unknown, without needing all the answers. But most people, they wait for the perfect moment, for total readiness, for every risk to disappear. But here's the truth. Waiting doesn't bring certainty. It brings regret. The longer you hesitate, the easier it becomes to settle, to convince yourself that staying small is safer than taking the leap. Uncertainty isn't the real enemy. Stagnation is. When you refuse to face the unknown, you trade growth for comfort, and comfort over time becomes a prison. Because comfort never builds strength, discomfort does. So what's the answer? It's not to eliminate uncertainty. It's to build the kind of mindset that can thrive in it. The Stoics believe that mental strength isn't about always knowing the outcome. It's about trusting yourself, even when the path ahead is unclear. They knew that real courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move anyway, fear and all. So the next time you face an uncertain decision, resist the urge to overanalyze. Instead, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Your mind may respond with fear, failure, embarrassment, rejection, but then ask a better question. And what if I recover? Because the truth is, you will. Even if it goes wrong, you'll survive. And more than that, you'll gain something far more valuable, experience. Seneca captured it perfectly. In the next section, we'll continue with his insight and explore why failure isn't the end, but the very forge where resilience and wisdom are born. In the last part, we explored the truth that courage isn't found in certainty. It's built in the unknown. Seneca captured this perfectly when he said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." And isn't that the truth? The longer you hesitate, the more intimidating things begin to feel. The more you delay, the louder your doubts become. But the moment you take action, any action, something shifts. Fear shrinks. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable. Uncertainty stops looking like a threat and begins to look like possibility. This is what successful people understand. They don't train themselves to eliminate fear. They train themselves to view uncertainty differently. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they ask, "But what if it works?" Instead of obsessing over worst-case scenarios, they focus on what they could gain, on who they might become, and that shift in mindset. It's everything, because that shift is what gives them the courage to move forward, even without guarantees. And this mindset isn't just for big, life-changing decisions. It's a daily practice. It means showing up even when you're unsure, speaking up even if your voice shakes, taking the leap even if you can't see the entire landing. Embracing uncertainty means accepting that you won't always have the right answer, that mistakes are inevitable, that discomfort is the entrance fee for real progress. But when you develop this mindset, doubt no longer paralyzes you. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop needing to know everything before you begin. And you realize most of the time, you only need to know enough to take the first step. Because the biggest breakthroughs in life, they rarely come from perfect planning. They come from motion, from acting before you feel ready, from moving before the fear is gone, From deciding, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed, the career move you've been avoiding, the difficult conversation you've been putting off, the bold risk you've been too afraid to take. Those are the moments that change everything, but only if you're willing to act. Because when you stop running from uncertainty, when you embrace it, you discover something unexpected. The unknown isn't where things fall apart. It's where they finally fall into place. Now, let's take this even further. In the next part, we'll explore the ultimate power move, learning when to stop pushing and start allowing life to flow in your favor. In the last section, we saw how stepping into uncertainty creates the space for transformation. But once you've taken the leap, there's a deeper wisdom that follows, knowing when to push forward and when to simply step back. That's the power move most people miss, recognizing when action is necessary and when it's wiser to let life unfold. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you create room, space for better, more aligned results to emerge naturally. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that timing matters, that the wisdom of knowing when not to act is just as important as knowing when to strike. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The message is clear. Act when action is needed, but don't waste your energy fighting battles you were never meant to win. Don't burn yourself out trying to control what's beyond your reach. When things don't unfold the way you expected, pause, refocus. Ask yourself, what's still within my control? Your discipline, your mindset, your focus. These are the levers of real power. And when you shift your attention here, everything changes. Instead of spiraling into frustration when things go wrong, you develop calm. Instead of chasing approval or results with desperation, you stay grounded. You begin trusting that your actions, done with intention, will create results in their own time. This mindset cultivates something rare in today's world: presence. When you're no longer desperate for outcomes, you gain control, not over life, but over yourself. And that's when something incredible happens. You start to attract the outcomes you've been chasing all along. Think about it. The people you admire, leaders, creators, those with magnetic presence, they never seem desperate. They don't rush or cling. They act with calm clarity. They trust the process. They know who they are. And because they carry that grounded certainty, life tends to meet them halfway. Seneca warned against chasing outcomes too obsessively. He believed it. Blinds you to better opportunities, the kind that only show up when you're not frantically looking. He said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." And that's what most people do. They stress over what hasn't even happened yet. They lose sleep over problems that may never come. And in doing so, they exhaust themselves for no good reason. But when you stop obsessing about what might happen, you reclaim your energy. You focus it on what matters, honing your craft, sharpening your mind, becoming stronger. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. Instead of watching the clock, you return to the work. Instead of chasing praise, you improve yourself. Instead of trying to force success, you become the kind of person success naturally finds. And that's where the shift happens. In the next part, we'll explore what it means to align with this flow, and how letting go doesn't weaken your drive, but strengthens your power. Previously, we explored how letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space for better things to unfold. Now, let's explore a powerful paradox that lies at the heart of this mindset. The less you chase, the more you attract. When you stop obsessing over results and start focusing on mastering your craft, you naturally draw opportunities towards you. When you let go of controlling relationships and simply commit to showing up as your best, most grounded self, deeper connections begin to form. And when you stop worrying about what others think, you gain something rare. Genuine respect, the kind desperate people never receive. The key? Patience, but not passive. Sit around and wait. Patience, not the kind that hides behind fear or delay. It's calm confidence. It's the inner knowing that your efforts, paired with the right timing, will always produce better outcomes than panic ever could. So the next time you feel yourself pushing too hard, forcing a conversation, overworking to prove something, or chasing an outcome that just won't click, pause, take a breath, step back, and ask yourself, have I done my part? If the answer is yes, stop pushing. Trust that what's meant for you will align when the time is right. There is profound wisdom in learning to let go, because when you release the need to control everything, you unlock something far more valuable than certainty, peace of mind. And when your mind is calm, you start making better decisions. You begin noticing opportunities others overlook, and you attract the very things people exhaust themselves trying to chase. You don't have to force everything into place. You simply have to focus on what you can control, your actions, your energy, your character, and let the rest unfold naturally. Because here's what life does. When you stop chasing, it often brings the right things right to your feet. Life will test you. It will tempt you to panic, to cling, to overthink. But true strength doesn't come from controlling every detail. It comes from controlling yourself. When you stop caring about things that don't matter, you free yourself to fully focus on the things that do. When you stop chasing respect, you earn it effortlessly. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, you discover clarity and peace. And when you embrace uncertainty, you open yourself to opportunities you never saw coming. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that mental strength isn't about holding on tighter. It's about learning when to hold on and when to let go. But here's the truth. This mindset doesn't develop in a single moment. It's built daily, every time you speak your truth without needing validation. Your confidence grows. Every time you resist the urge to overthink, your mind sharpens. And every time you take action, even when you're unsure, you become stronger. Start small. Next time you feel the urge to defend yourself, to over-explain, or to prove your worth, but pause. In the next part, we'll explore how self-trust becomes the foundation for unshakable confidence, and how doing less can often lead you further than trying to do everything. Previously, we explored the daily discipline of letting go, not as weakness, but as a quiet strength. Now let's bring everything together with one final reminder. Small shifts in how you respond to life create the biggest transformations. Pause. When anxiety pushes you to control something far beyond your reach, step back. When fear whispers that you're not ready and that you must wait for perfect certainty. And most importantly, move forward anyway. These seemingly small choices practiced day after day, become the building blocks of lasting change. Over time, you'll begin to notice something subtle but powerful. You're calmer, more grounded, more present. You don't react the way you used to. You don't spiral into panic when life doesn't go to plan. You stop trying to force your way through resistance, and instead, you flow with strength and direction. Your mind becomes your greatest ally, no longer a battlefield of doubt, but a sanctuary of clarity. It becomes focused, composed, unshaken, and in the stillness, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust yourself fully. You begin to trust life, not blindly, but with courage. And you begin to see that everything you were chasing was already on its way. So if you've ever had a moment when letting go brought you peace, clarity, or unexpected success, hold on to it. That's your proof. That's your reminder that surrender isn't the end. It's the beginning of something better. And if this message resonated with you, pause, reflect, and carry it forward. Because in a world that tells you to do more, be louder, and chase harder, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to trust, let go, and simply begin.